You have to be humble all the time, and you have to learn all the time. So this is where I learned a lot, is how to lead by example with the leaders that I had above me. So we have realized, and from that very moment, of course, that this is a question of team effort. We're a team of teams, and of course, to become a leader, you have to learn a lot from everybody.
Welcome to the Allied Air Power Podcast, NATO's sole broadcast that patrols the full spectrum of air, space, and cyberspace. I am your host, Jose Houdini Davis. Today, we are coming to you from Torrejon Air Base in Spain, home of NATO's Combined Air Operations Center Torrejon, one of 3 of the Alliance's key command and control nodes for Alliance air and space power. Our guest is Lieutenant General Juan Pablo Sanchez de Lara, commander of CAOC Torrejon. A Spanish fighter pilot with more than 3,500 flying hours, General Sanchez de Lara's career has taken him from the cockpit of the F-5 and Mirage F-1 to NATO operations in Bosnia, staff work at SHAPE, command of the Spanish Air Force Academy, and now one of NATO's most important operational air command posts. In this episode, we talk about the evolution of NATO air command and control, from the Cold War air policing missions to today's much broader air defense challenge, where NATO must be ready for everything from traditional military aircraft to UAVs to one-way attack drones. From fighters to football, this conversation also gave us a more personal look at the general behind the command. After discussing air defense, Eastern Sentry, and NATO's evolving command and control mission, we closed with a lighter exchange about Spain and football. Which football, you may ask? Well, stay tuned. This episode is a friendly reminder of the universal truth that every alliance conversation eventually finds its way to friendly rivalry. It was a reminder that NATO is built not only on doctrine, capabilities, and command structures, but also on teamwork and relationships that make multinational service work. So from sunny Spain, let's step inside CAOC Torrejon and talk Allied air power with Lieutenant General Juan Pablo Sanchez de Lara. Today on the Allied Air Power Podcast, we're honored to be here in Spain to interview Lieutenant General Juan Pablo Sanchez de Lara, the commander of the Combined Air Operations Center here in Torrejon. Sir, how are you doing today?
Fine. Happy to host you here on the occasion of the Public Affairs Officers meeting in support of you.
Yes, sir. I'm just happy to see the sun. So it's great.
That's arranged. No problem, yeah.
Well, sir, please tell our audience a little bit about yourself, your career, and for listeners who may not know what a Combined Air Operations Center actually does for air power.
Okay, it's just two different questions, but I try to summarize them into a single answer. Okay. So my career, I started as an Air Force Academy student back in 1980, some years ago, of course, and I graduated from the Academy in 85, and then after I was selected to become a fighter pilot, a student for the Fighter Weapons Schools out of Talavera Air Force Base, where I flew from 1985 to 1986 in the F-5. That's right now. They celebrated 300,000 hours in the F-5 in the Spanish Air Force, 300,000 hours. So after graduating in the F-5, I was sent to different fighter aircraft units, mostly flying the Mirage F-1 and the F-5 also, doing, of course, all kinds of missions, operations like air defense, air offensive operations, intelligence missions all over there. So important missions also. And this is when I got into the air policing business, as a fighter pilot, of course. I remember my first scrambles over there, real scrambles back even in nighttime. I'm very interested back in 1987, 88, something like that. Different than today.
In the Cold War still.
Yeah. Well, even Spanish were on the verge to join NATO NATINAMS, let's say, not starting to operate in NATO, but not integrated in NATINAMS. Interesting mission and this is what I learned, what right now I'm doing here, some years afterwards, interesting missions also. Of course, fighter pilot, but you cannot fly all the time. So, of course, I had to become a staff officer. Why not? And also, that's another moment for me, and my family to change position, change of location, and I start doing staff work, which is also important. Staff work out of the Spanish Air Force headquarters also. but also doing other staff work like I did. For example, I have the luxury to do staff work in shape, out of shape, in J3, in Joint Operations Section, especially doing air policing and air-to-ground operations. Of course, I had also the luxury to participate in NATO operations, some back in the Balkans in 1998. Also as head of the Spanish TACP teams deployed over there in support of S4 in this case. And the important mission also like this, where I learned also NATO once again. And different other staff assignments back in the Spanish Air Force headquarters, which finally I crystallized when I became colonel. I was selected to command the Spanish Air Force Academy for 3 years. So an important role, important responsibility for the education of many promotions and generations of future Air Force, not pilots, but Air Force members over there. So I learned a lot from there. And then, when I got promoted to general, back to the Spanish Air Force general staff for plans, where I did also some NATO jobs also, representing Spain in different NATO bodies like the AWACS, for example, or IMD also, which is something back to the IMD business, why not? As a Major General, I was sent to Canary Island Air Command, which is the one that we have over Canary Island, to do all kind of in support of the local operations over there, all kind of air operations, once again, defense, transport, intelligence, and security over there. And when I was promoted 3 years ago, I was designated as a CAOC Torrejon commander, which is something that I've been doing for 3 years. And very interesting part in my life. Very, very, let's say, busy all the time, but very interesting. And this is where I think that everything is crystallized in this job that I have. It makes sense, everything that I've done in the past, and get me prepared for this mission. That is something that you are learning every day only, because every day here is different to the other.
Yeah, and on that line of thought, sir, I wanted to ask you, from your career, looking back on all these experiences, what has most shaped you, your leadership today in this particular role?
Yeah, you have to be humble all the time, and you have to learn all the time. So this is where I learned a lot, is how to lead by example with the leaders that I had above me. So we have realized, and from that very moment, of course, that this is a question of team effort. We're a team of teams, and of course, to become a leader, you have to learn a lot from everybody. Good lessons learned and bad lessons learned, of course. So this is what I kept trying to get all the lessons from all the experiences that I have and all the interaction that I had in the past as a team member and as a leader, because every team member is a leader, should be considered a leader, and this is my philosophy. Everybody should be pulling, of course, because everybody is interested in our, let's say, enterprise. So that was what motivated me all across my career. I learned a lot from flying, of course. I learned a lot from other positions in the bases also from the staff also. I learned a lot from NATO positions, of course, international assignments. I forgot to mention that I also was deployed detachment commander for the European Union mission out of Djibouti. I was there for 5 months, and also a very good experience and leadership experience also, to take care of a whole detachment of more than 50 people over there in this space also. So with this philosophy of learning and also sharing your ideas, your knowledge also, and being loyal to everybody, I think that is the only way to increase the output of everywhere you are working, in a NATO staff, in a national staff, anywhere, in a unit or something like that. That's important for us.
I have this saying that I say around at our HQ Aircom building: teamwork makes the dream work.
Yeah,
I don't know, it's an Americanism, but I love it. I think it encapsulates the importance, of what, a principle I believe as well, sir, teamwork.
so that's important.
Applying this team spirit, right? NATO's enhanced vigilance activity, Eastern Century, that's the hot subject for Allied air power right now. It shows that deterrence today is not just about reacting to a single air incident, but about synchronizing a much wider defensive posture across the eastern flank. I mean, it's about teamwork of various different assets, of different force enablers. From a CAOC perspective, what does Eastern Century tell us about the future of Alliance Command and Control?
Okay, first let me introduce a little bit about our mission, no? Because CAOC, we are an Air Operations Center for ERCOM. So we are tasking and executing missions on a day-to-day basis, no? In peacetime, in crisis, and in conflict, no? ERCOM has 3 AOCs, Air Operations Center, combined Air Operations Centers. And what we do from here is just the standard missions and the standing missions in peacetime, which is mainly air defense, air policing, we call it. And of course, the crisis and conflict part of it. Of course, we are not in conflict when we are speaking about Eastern Century, but it's important to realize where are we coming from. From the air policing that was born in 1961 in 3 Central European countries that then expanded this mission to all the countries in NATO Europe, let's say. No? So, of course, we were mostly centered or historically centered on the air policing missions, which is typically air policing against military aircraft, big aircraft, scramble, something like that in the past. But the challenge, of course, is how we are evolving to the new threats, of course. New threats that is not only aircraft, manned aircraft, but also unmanned aircraft, big aircraft, small aircraft, and smaller aircraft like the UAV, so one-way attack drones or something like that. And this is where we are turning this air policing mindset into air defense mindset. Of course, we consider ourselves that we are not at peace anymore. We are not in conflict, but we are not at peace anymore. And we have, of course, to jump the mindset of everybody. Team effort you mentioned before, not only NATO, a NATO command structure, but also the nations. And together with them, we are evolving our defense posture, no? Of course. Because of the Polish airspace violation that happened in September, which, by the way, there were also some airspace violations, and since then, more in our area of responsibility, which is in Romania, as you know. But of course, this is a mindset that we need to have everybody at the same time, not only NATO, nations, and all together as a team effort, evolve and being able, of course, to stand any challenge against the NATO and then the NATO territories, like in Romania, like in Turkey, or anywhere, so something like that. In this case, Eastern Century, I think this is with a different level of effort that are being implemented in order to not only a question of mindset, but also resources, technology, and capabilities offered not only from the outside of the house, but from the multi-domain environment. Of course, we are relying and we have to take the best of other capabilities provided by the land component, by the maritime component, by airspace, by other domains, let's say, in order to take, and also from the national, of course, side of the house, in order to take the best of any capability that we are able to manage in order to face any future situation or current situation. And no matter if we are speaking about a big Tupolev 22 to a very small Shahid or smaller than that.
Sir, and I'd like to follow up on that question. Where do you want to see Torrejon at the end of your time here as the commander, considering everything that you said about the evolving threats, the change in air, the change from when you were air police in the air, right, in the 80s? Where do you want to see CAOC Torrejon or NATO air power as a whole going?
Yeah.
In the future.
Whatever I say for CAOC Torrejon is the same as to ERCOM community and to ERCOM enterprise of ACO, no? Of course, it's mandatory. The history of the IMD starts with the first I, which is the integration, no? Integrated or integration. This is the way to go. The way to participate is integration. This is important, of course, because this is the only way where we are taking the best of every capability that nations are providing to us. And when I mention capabilities across the MLPFI, doctrine, operation, organization, training, material, leadership, personnel, important, of course, because it's not only a question of technology, it's also a question of map of workforce, personnel. What do we receive from the nations to NATO staff positions, and then what we give them back once their rotation is finished, after 3 or 4 years. No, so it will be whatever I wish or desire for Torrejon. I would say is the same for ERCOM and any headquarters, because it doesn't matter if we have a good CAOC like here in Torrejon. In the future, with applying survivability, we have maybe resiliency, we have connectivity, we have interaction. So whatever I see, I would like to have for my unit. Of course, it's 100% manned. We're not supported by the nations. 100% trained. I have 100% mindset, of course, with the tools available in order to be able to face any future situation. Of course, there are many things to improve, and this is one of the many of the levels of efforts that have been identified for the Eastern century are going to be applied in our system. So we can do the PCC, the peacetime, crisis and conflict role anytime, and we can transfer from peacetime easily to crisis and conflict in case needed in the nick of time. So anything's happening tonight, we are able to turn into crisis and conflict tonight, something. And with this mindset and this preparation, that will be ideal. And we, of course, many of the lines of efforts, as I mentioned before, technology is something that will help us. And I'm keen and eager to implement future technologies like artificial intelligence and all the machine learning. We are missing also to introduce more into our system in order to expedite the decision-making process in our business, because decision-making processes are important for us in quality, how we best implement the best decisions, of course, and in time. In our business, time is of the essence, no? So it's important to have very quick decisions, 100% the best decision that you can take. And for that, this is a question of, not as I said, not before, not only technology, but also personnel. Training is a .mlpfi that I would like to be implemented here across the ERCOM and across the ACO community, because in the end, it's a multi-domain challenge that we have everybody.
Yes, sir. Last question, because I know you're a very busy man. We are so grateful for your time and for hosting us. So double gratitude, sir. Last question. What does NATO mean to you personally?
I would say pro-NATO, of course. No, I was born before Spain joined NATO, of course, but as I became a Spanish Air Force officer or pilot, that's when we started working with NATO. Over there, we integrated in NATO. We integrated in the NATO Integrated Air and Missile Defense. We started doing squadron exchange exercises. I have lived NATO since my starting years of professional career, of course. And I think that NATO is a history of success. History of success. It's more than 75 years doing this also. And I mentioned also 1961, which is when we started doing integrated air and missile defense, which is the other history of success. More united cohesion, and the cohesion also, and the solidarity is what you can see, and you will be able to see here in the CAOC Torrejon. We have everything integrated. We have the trust of the nations, where they are giving us all the capabilities, or their capabilities, very sensitive capabilities, like their radars, their CRCs, control and reporting center, and their aircraft. They have the trust to keep those and transfer the authority of them to us, so we can perform a mission for them, which is also very good news, and is a good indication of the capability that we are able to do from here. We have a multiplying effect from the CAOC, where we are able to task any aircraft from one country, cross to the borders to another country, solve the situation over there, and come back here. That's something that it can only be done through the integration and also the history of little by little more integrated decisions by the nations in this case. So as I mentioned before, I believe, of course, totally believer in NATO. I invite anybody to visit us to see that this is a success story of NATO, a CAOC, for example, a practical example of what NATO is able to do when everybody agrees on a single collective mission as integrated air and missile defense. And this is what we are doing here on a day-to-day basis.
Muchas gracias, Hernán. I love Spain. It's my favorite place to visit.
Yeah. What about you?
He said the same.
Smart guy, no? When he visited Italy, I like it. Io adoro l'Italia. You have a headquarters over there, no?
We have the operational headquarters over there.
Yeah.
Or we will have a couple of 2 guys coming from Milan.
Okay. So see, because working there is the former coach, so these guys are working for him maybe. So let me have a time tomorrow to say hello to them, and that's it.
The Spain is still my favorite.
You like the famous Spanish pizza and the famous paella from Italy, no?
Oh. Best pizza in Rome, paella. Valencia, though.
But I need to visit your country, Honduras. I would like to say. I've been down to Mexico, but never down to any part of South America and Central America.
No, actually, it's funny. I've been out here in Europe for a long time, for 8 years now.
8 years.
Yes, sir.
Good.
But I've been trying to get my mom to visit for my kids because they're growing up. Finally convinced her to meet in Spain. Yeah. So I flew down and she came across the pond.
Here in Madrid.
Loved it. Yes. Madrid. She went to Madrid, Barcelona. Madrid was his favorite.
And Barcelona is a nice time also, yeah. Even they have a bad football team over there. No? Real Madrid is...
Real Madrid.
They don't deserve my attention right now. I'm a little bit mad on them, but
Yeah, for the ticket prices or for...
No, because they lost everything this year, no? So they're not playing well anymore, I would say. No? I think they have to change them.
We had
They're con-ops. They need to change everything. Yeah.
We had some participants ask how to get tickets to a game. I don't know, so I asked. There's a game today. See what chance?
Today?
Yes, sir. Yeah, there's a game. Some of the participants are going.
Yeah. Yes. I think for in the Spanish league. The Spanish league is tonight. Yeah.
Sure. They're going late, but then they have the conference early in the morning. So we'll see.
Well, they're gonna. Let me tell you. They are playing football, American football match here once a year.
NFL or no? Just
it's NFL. Yes.
Yeah.
It's one. I don't know who's against who's, but it's. Last year was the first time they are playing out of the Santiago Bernabéu Stadium.
Okay.
100,000 people, 99,000 of them, there were US, I'm pretty sure, and 1,000 Europeans. Was full of US guys here in Madrid. Well, it was a show. The way you do that in US, singing and whatever,
half the sense of whatever, fireworks, flyovers. Have you ever seen every football game?
Not yet. We are not there yet. But maybe it would be interesting to watch. Yeah,
it's becoming popular.
I think it was for the first time, and it was, I don't remember the two teams. I don't remember exactly, no? But it was very interesting. It was made a lot of news here, no? A lot of news, and 100,000 people also.
Not usual, I mean, for...
No.
No.
To
have...
No.
You know what you'll find interesting? We're seeing the opposite in the U.S. because in the giant American football stadiums, a lot of the national football teams, soccer teams are playing. So I got my mom tickets for Honduras versus Argentina at my old university in the giant football stadium in Texas. So, and it's already sold out. Americans are flooding, maybe Europeans flying across.
You have the World Championship this...
Yes. Yeah, well, yeah, the FIFA.
Together with... It's also with Mexico and Canada, or I don't remember if well.
Yes, it's
Mexico, US, I'm pretty sure. So, little by little, they finally will understand that football, there's only one football, which is the European football. And you have to invent another name for that, the other sport. Whatever you want to call it whatever, but not football anymore, please. Come on.
And then we try sometimes to call
Come on.
No, it's football. Which is the right football?
Who invented the football? The British. Or they didn't teach you that football is football and not this rugby like whatever.
Well, some things in English, we create new words for it because of our own English.
Okay, guys.
Anyway, sir, this was excellent. That wraps up this flight of the Allied Air Power podcast and our conversation with Lieutenant General Juan Pablo Sanchez de Lara, commander of NATO's Combined Air Operations Center there in Torrejon, Spain. And boy, was that a fun conversation, from football to fighters and from fighters to football. Today's episode brought us inside one of the Alliance's critical air command and control hubs, a place where NATO air power is tasked, coordinated, and executed across peacetime, crisis, and conflict. General Sanchez de Lara reminded us that CAOC Torrejon is not simply watching skies. It is part of a living, integrated system that depends on national trust, shared capabilities, trained personnel, resilient command and control, and the ability to act quickly when NATO airspace or sovereignty is challenged. The general framed NATO as a success story, not just because of its history, but because of what it does every day. At Torrejon, that success is visible in the daily work of Allied personnel who help defend NATO skies, protect Allied territory, and keep the alliance ready for whatever comes next. Now, if you found value in today's episode, share the show and leave a rating so others can navigate air, space, and cyberspace with us. Explore deeper coverage anytime at ac.nato.int and send us your questions or topics you'd like us to tackle. Until our next sortie, stand ready in the air, secure in cyberspace, and steady on the path to the stars.